Sure. So I'm Scott Smith. I am currently the mayor of the city of South Haven. And when I came to South Haven, I moved to South Haven for work at the hospital. So I'm an occupational therapist by trade. And shortly after I started working at the hospital, I got involved in what is the Wellness Center project. So I was asked by our then CEO within 2 years of starting there to come up with a plan to move what is now the rehab department. So I kind of envisioned what is now the Wellness Center, which moved rehab and orthopedics and occupational medicine out of the basement of the hospital and created the now Wellness Center. So with that, became good friends with the former mayor, compliments of my lovely bride, Listy, who I met here in town, and then met former Mayor Betty Davis, who was quite happy with the Wellness Center project and encouraged me that I should consider getting involved in public office. So from that, I started work on the Zoning Board of Appeals, a few different boards, commissions, slowly worked my way onto city council. And a few city council terms later, and then returning back, becoming mayor, and here I am. My first terms on council, 2002 to 2009, I was elected two 4-year terms, and then came back, trying to remember the exact, 2018 for a 2-year term. I gotta do back on the math here, but yeah, I came back for another 2-year term and then was elected mayor, and this is now year 5 of being mayor. So I would say, part of it was, I would say, an interesting being involved in the community. There were a few things when I first got involved. As I mentioned, the Wellness Center got several people interested in my interest in the community, because when I moved to town, very much similar to what we hear now, you hear people complaining, well, there's nothing to do, what is there to do? And so I sort of, rather than complaining about it, I said I would get involved and try to do some things to make it better. So helped with the Wellness Center project, said I'd get involved on some boards and commission, became very interested in how to help the community go forward. So I always joke, one of the very first things that I was very worried about was that when I first started on council, there was not a sidewalk across the highway to get to Walmart. And at the time, there was not a Meijer, so Walmart was the big shopping option short of the local grocery stores. So got involved, and we went through planning processes and petitioned the state to ultimately widen the bridge and get sidewalks across there. So everything from as simple as sidewalks to street repair. I'm a fan of infrastructure repair. I've gotten to know that well through the years. So for me, it's just basic functions of government, but it's also fun to do the bigger picture things, like how do you make the town attractive on a year-round basis to try to get young families and professionals to try to move here, live here, stay here year-round. So you could go back and talk about rentals when I was on council in 2002. Which tells me it was probably going on before that. And if you talk to folks that have lived here their whole lives, I've talked to many who been renting in their families for generations. So I think there's probably always been a discussion. I think the discussion has evolved over time. So if I go back to my first years on council, I remember one city council person and former Mayor Dave Paul specifically, who talked frequently about his issues with neighboring rentals. And at the time, the discussion was around such basic things as noise, garbage cans, and what I would consider basic nuisance issues. So you go back in time, and as things come up, you deal with them, you address them, you create policies and procedures to, make sure that things exist, peacefully. Neighbors can exist peacefully next to neighbors. And so that was addressed, that would be back then. And if you fast forward, again, there was another push where we, the next push was to put more structure in place. So, after your first initial set of rules, eventually we tackled occupancy, we had tackled everything from how to register a rental, basic safety issues. So it's over time, it's morphed. And I think one of the best things we did the last time around was we said that we really wanted to gather better data. We had no data. It was tough to make a decision because we had no idea how many we had, where they were, anything. So I think now, for the first time, we've got pretty good data. We know where they are, we know how many we've got. And I would argue we probably got better data than most communities up and down the lakeshore, because not only do we gather data, but we have an outside resource that's also helping us search the internet and other sources for people that are trying to rent and, you know, kind of get in under the radar. So it's changed, and I think that's the important thing for people to realize is as it's changed, the city's tried to change. If you went back in time, when I first started on city council, when I moved to town, people weren't renting on the internet. Airbnb and VRBO didn't exist. So who knows how much was going on. So fast forward, even when we first did this, we still didn't have a really good idea of what was going on. So we've over time gotten better at understanding where they are, how many people are in a house, kind of all the stuff that helps us make better decisions. I would say in this community we've had, I definitely think the onslaught of Airbnb, VRBO has made a difference in all these lakefront communities. It's just so much easier to rent your home, and that's the evolution of vacation renting right now. I mean, I watch my kids go out and they're head to New York. And they're getting a vacation rental house. So it's not just here; it's everywhere, and I would say even the younger generation. I would test you with that. Is, you know, where would you tend to look? Would it be a hotel, a bed and breakfast, or the Airbnb? So I think it has changed. We've had a few landmark moments here. We've had some big homes go up that have changed things. You know, I remember the last set of signs that went up mentioned a certain home on Cass Street, and it was the neighbors against this home. If you were to go further, now you'll see a new group of signs out. So it will continue to evolve. Well, hopefully it's gotten better. When I started in town, actually one of the very first city council meetings I had, I'll never forget it, because we went into a meeting and we're basically told your water plant is near its capacity. You'll have to either replace it or no new water permits can get issued. So that was one of those moments when, as a young council person, we had a lot of questions, but it was an easy answer. It was, well, you replace it. Unfortunately, at the time, there was the previous decades of, you know, city residents, city councils, there was no pre-planning for that replacement. So they were essentially just using the existing structure. So now we've got so we had to basically replace the old one, build a new one, and so we fast forward, you know, now we've got a new water plant. We've continued to upgrade the water filtration, the sewer plant. We've had 2 road millages, a 5 and a 20, so roads have been improved, sidewalks have been improved, a lot of investment in public safety, police, fire, so all that good stuff, parks, all been improved. We've expanded, we're now a designated trail town. So if you look at what is the primary function of our government, which is, again, we have reliable electric, we have outstanding water, the sewers work, your streets are much better. It's Michigan, they can always be better. The parks continue to be better. A little challenge with high water, but again, we mitigated that risk as best we could. So I would argue we've invested, and it's continuing to improve. It's a great question, and that's why you're here. Hopefully you're going to come up with some. But I mean, right now, really the best resources are on the city's website. We do have information at any given time. You can look up our short-term rental, like a STR snapshot, and different things that'll show you where they are, information on them, our good neighbor guides, all available on the city's website. So, but I'm looking forward to hearing what you come up with, and maybe we can even better centralize all that information to create better relationships between those that are here as a visitor and those that live here year-round. You know, I'd say the biggest thing is, if you look at the issue of rentals, it's not like any other issue. Things change over time, and I hope that as long as this community has existed, as long as there's been water in Lake Michigan, we've been a destination. People want to come here, they want to visit here, some want to live here forever, some want to come for a week. So there's always been a need to have those two coexist. We should always remember that. So things will change, people change, times change, but we should always be open and receptive to at least trying to understand the variables, if that makes sense? Because the water's gonna be there, and all this is gonna continue to go on for generations after all of us are gone. So hopefully we at least lay the foundation so that those that come after us at least feel like, those that live here feel like it's their community, those that come to visit feel like it's a great place to come and visit, because they're always gonna have that relationship. So we just have to make sure it's a good relationship and we don't create hostility. You know, we always want to be warm and welcoming and all that. That's who we are. That's who this community is. So when you start to lose that, I get worried, and I always hope that this community comes back to its roots and says, wait a minute, we're who we are. We're a Lake Michigan port town. We're a great little place to live, work, and play. So let's make sure we just keep that happiness and that kind of peaceful coexistence forever.